I've never walked alone. Nah. 'Cause you're faithful to the end and closer than a friend, and your love will never fail. In every season you are there. Faithful.
Have you ever shattered anything with a rock? Like, have you ever taken a rock and just flung it at a piece of glass or anything like that and broke it before?
Like
that you
on
can
purpose?
remember? Well,
On purpose?
either. Like, I mean, you don't have to tell the story. Like, if you've ever taken a brick and ran it through somebody's car window, well, that's a podcast for another day. But have you ever shattered anything, like a mirror or a piece of
Oh
glass?
yeah. Or a dish, a piece of china. Yeah.
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 So on today's podcast, I thought it would be fun to shatter the glass house of the preacher's house. You want to do it?
Sure.
Yeah.
This ought to be fun.
Okay, so I'll go first.
Okay.
Something that people would probably not know is for younger people, this isn't going to make a lot of sense. For older people, you probably are going to be right on par. When I say older, I mean, if you were born in the late 1900s, like myself, if you're from the late 1900s, you're going to get this. So back in the day, before there were copy machines where like you put your paper in and you mash the button and it spin it out.
Yeah.
There were these things called, I think, and I'm probably not saying it right, mimeograph
Mimeograph machines.
Okay, so Daddy would type up the bulletin for church because Daddy was in smaller churches, small rural churches. So he was a one-man show. You know what I'm saying?
He was the secretary. He was
the receptionist. He was everybody. So Daddy would type up the bulletin, and if, for younger people, the bulletins, like the songs we were going to sing, what the message was on, and the announcements. Like you didn't have an app where you got the announcements. They went in the bulletin,
Okay.
which, let me go down a rabbit hole real quick. Side note, every time the time changed for daylight savings time, Daddy always put it in the bulletin. Hey, just a reminder, daylight savings time. And I can remember as a kid wondering how people who didn't go to church knew that the time changed. I was like, people that don't go to church and get a bulletin, how do they know that the time's changing on Saturday? But I digress. Let me get back to my story. So Daddy would top up the bulletin on this purple paper. It wasn't paper. It was like
special paper. It was special. Used to, you had copy, like, what do you call it? You had, what is it, that blue stuff that you would put between paper?
Like carbon paper or
carbon.
Whatever.
Yeah, carbon paper.
So it was something kind of like that. He would type up the bullet, and you couldn't make a mistake because there wasn't no way to,
fix it,
white it out. So anyway, then he would take it and he would wrap it around the drum of this machine, and then you put the bulletin paper in it, and it wasn't even automated. Like you didn't just mash a button and the drum spun by itself and spit the bulletins out. You would have to crank it and spin it like this big crank thing, and it would print it on the bulletins. Well, because we were kids, Dad would make us go down to the church on Saturday afternoons, and we were the ones who spun the wheel, on the thing, which at the time I thought was pretty cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you, to this day, that smell is forever embedded in my brain, in my nose. And if I get a hint of ink like that, it instantly takes me back to the little church offices and doing the little mimeograph. But the memory,
those machines,
the memory that I have that people probably don't know is that we would then take the bulletins home and fold them for church service the next day. And like we would eat dinner and then we would sit down and fold the bulletins, and we folded church bulletins while we watched, I think it was called WWF back in the day. We would watch wrestling or Dukes of Hazzard. Our heathen selves was watching that on the big tube TV while we folded people's bulletins.
I had forgotten about that. And to sit here and know that we folded them to the Dukes of Hazzard when originally Dad wouldn't let us watch it because it was going to teach us that a bad thing that we were going to you keep running from the law, and that was being disobedient, and that, and that was not being respectful, and we just didn't need to watch it. And then the more we went to Uncle Billy and Aunt Cindy's house, and I was down there and they were watching it, then Dad got hooked on the Dukes of Hazzard, Boss Hogs, and we had to watch it.
Do you think him and Mama laid in bed at night when I was a teenager and thought it was the Dukes of Hazzard that made her rebel?
And it wasn't too long ago. I said something about Daddy watching the WWE or whatever they used to call it, the wrestling, that was his thing on Saturday. And John looked at me and went, "What?"
Oh, Daddy loved wrestling.
Dad was a big wrestling fan. He goes, "Wow, that just totally changes my thoughts of people."
Hey,
because I would have never thought.
All you people in the 80s, if you're listening, and our dad pastored your church, your pastor was watching wrestling on Saturday and getting up preaching the Lord's word on Sunday.
Be kind to others, treat others the way you want to be treated. And he was watching wrestling.
Of
course, I used to sit there watching it thinking, this is the fakest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I cannot believe Dad's watching this. And he would sit there and just laugh and laugh and laugh.
I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever experienced in my life.
I think it was the stupidest thing. I'd rather fold the bulletins watching the Dukes of Hazzard. That was more fun.
What do you have? Do you have something, a memory that would shatter the glass house of the preacher's house?
I'll never forget going to our cousin Jana's wedding, and we were down there. It was up during the day. I don't know if it was like the Friday at lunch or whatever. And we were all sitting around and eating lunch, and how it got started, I don't know. But there was a friend that Dad went to seminary with. Don Daniels was there too. And he was a card. Those of y'all that's from this area of Camden, Don Daniels, but him and Dad were in seminary together. And anyway, they got to acting like drunks.
Stop.
Yes, acting like two people drunk. And Dad had his leg wrapped around the coffee table, and he was talking with slurred speech, and he couldn't get his leg out from around the coffee table. And then you had Don, who supposedly was drunk and was trying to help him. And, oh man, I was mortified. I was like 10. But looking back now, I could see Dad on the floor rolling around trying to undo his leg from around the coffee table with his speech slurred, acting drunk, and Don Daniels trying to help him.
That is great.
Granted, remember Dad at the time was a big dude. I mean, he was.
Yeah, because he weighed about 300 pounds.
300 pounds. So he was a big dude. So seeing him roll around on the ground and talking, slur, it was hysterical. It was absolutely hysterical. Then after that, they coaxed him into acting like Mom putting on her girdle on Sunday morning.
I vividly remember throughout our life our dad mimicking our mom putting on a girdle.
Which are called Spanx.
I wish that video cameras would have been around in the 80s, because that would be gold right now.
With his comb over where it would flop, around while he was.
Oh my gosh. So our dad was in the Navy, and his little Dixie cap thing, like right where it would sit on your head, he was bald. And so he had a comb over till the day he died. He had his comb over, and he would get to yanking around and moving, and his comb over would stand up straight on his head as if attention. And it was the greatest, most embarrassing thing ever. And if anybody is listening to this that knew our dad and his comb over stood up to attention, please comment, because that was great. That was great.
Do you know Sam he has dad's hairline or whatever. So he's a little thin in that area, and for the longest time, he had a comb over that did the exact same thing that dad had, and my girls looked at him and said, "You're going to get your hair cut because we are not having people. You're
Stand
not
at
going to do
attention.
that."
That's great. That is great. Well, something else I can remember is, do you remember Fifth Sunday night singings? On the fifth
Yeah.
Sunday night of every month, there would always be a singing at the church, and we would be voluntold that we had to sing. And anybody that knows me, I'm not a singer. But I can tell you right now, in this moment, if I close my eyes, I could sing the Solid Rock, and there was another one we always had to sing, something about a fire.
Yeah, it only takes a spark to get a fire going.
So I remember that. Those were my givens, which then makes me think of, we had a rule in our house that if you sang a secular song, you had to quote 3 Bible verses.
Yep, I
And
remember that.
I was a closet Prince fan. And I can remember I would sing Raspberry Beret, and dad would be like, "Give me 3 Bible verses." Now, me being, I wish I would have known been a little into the group that was like, give me 3 steps, mister, because I'd have came at him with that one. I'd have probably got a spanking over that, being sassy. But anyway, my 3 Bible verses were, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." That's Genesis 1:1. I would quote John 3:16, and then my third and final, because he would be so done with me, would be like, "Jesus wept."
Well,
And he would be like, "Move on. I need 3 new Bible verses." But in my brain, if I always sang Raspberry Beret and I was singing the same song, I could
it was
quote
the
those 3
same,
Bible
but
verses. And that's what I would tell him. It's the same song. It's not a new song. So why do I need to learn 3 new Bible verses?
maybe that's why I have this issue of not being able to memorize Bible verses
We're traumatized.
because we were
Our
put on
father
the
traumatized us.
it was put on
Did
the
you have
spot.
to Did you have to memorize Bible verses too?
Oh, I'm sure I was supposed to quote them when I was singing a song that I heard on the radio. I just don't remember that. That's one of those memories that's blocked out, but, oh, I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did.
He tried.
I know.
They tried. They tried to raise us right. God love them. What's something, is there another thing? Maybe it's not the now, I can remember, if I go back to, like, then having children, like, once I was grown and had kids, Shane and I didn't go to church when our kids were younger. My rebellion lasted on into my adulthood, and but the Lord redeems all. Let's just say that, okay? God is a God who redeems. But I can remember my kids, like, my daddy would get up to preach, and the kids would be like, "Hey people," like, from the pew, knowing good, and they thought it was cute. Mom and daddy thought it was just cute as they could be. Now, if I would have done that as a kid, I'd have
Right?
got pinched.
Yes, that would've been that would've been something else. Yeah, we would've gotten in trouble.
Yeah. They thought the grandkids were cute. The grandkids could do whatever in church.
Of course. Well, I mean, it's the same way now. The grandkids can get away with anything, but at the time, my kids couldn't get away with anything in church. They had to be like, they were PKs 2.0.
2 point They were the new version.
They were the new version from way I felt. So when we went to church, they were supposed to act just like, like how I thought we were supposed to act in church, and so yes, they got pinched. It was one of mine I pinched, if I have to guess, probably was John William or Jesse, bless Jesse's heart. They might have been squirming or something, and I reached over and pinched one of them, and ow, you pinched me. Yeah, I know. In the middle of church.
Thanks for pointing it out.
Right. But I'll never forget John William. I could probably write a book about John William, the things he did. But you remember when they used to do the children's time during worship, where all the
Yeah,
children came down and sat down on the altar up there anyway,
yeah,
and they
you
had
were
their
telling us about
stories?
that last week when he was mimicking the puppets.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they were doing the puppet time and he was doing his mouth and My goodness, and to make it worse, you had the mayor sitting there laughing at him and egging him on, and yeah, I was leaned out in the pew trying to get his attention, and the more I tried to get his attention, man, he didn't wanna come sit back down with me after that. He wanted to
That's
keep going.
great.
But he was a performer. John William was a performer in church. I guess if, we would have had 5th Sunday night singings when he was small, he would have been performing, no problem for people. Yeah, he would have gotten up there and sang, no problem.
Did you ever have to be in a, like a Christmas program in any of the
We had
churches?
no choice. We were voluntold.
Do you remember any of them?
I the ones I always remember, I was either the angel, I had to be an angel, or you had to play Mary. Why does the preacher's kids always have to play Mary or Joseph?
No, you must have been higher up on the rungs. The one I remember is I think you were in college and we were sheep, the youth were sheep. I was a teenager and they made me be the mean sheep. And to this day, I can remember like there was a rap, like we introduced each sheep was having to introduce themselves like with a rap kind of. And my rap was like, my name is Fussy and I always wear a frown. Something, something, something and you're up, but I am down. And I remember thinking, why are they like making me be the mean sheep? But then now that I'm older and I'm look back, I'm like, oh, I get it. I get it. I was cast well. I was cast well in that program. I remember that one.
Oh,
I mean, I
man.
remember the smaller ones, not smaller ones, but I can remember being like the angel and the wise men and stuff like that when I was smaller before, my personality came out and we knew I needed to be the fussy sheep, but
I think
I
your
remember
personality was
those.
always there. Mm. Oh, gosh, and just the Cabbage Patch Doll and the
That was
manger
baby
scene,
Jesus.
that was baby Jesus, and now I see, programs going on, and they use, real babies or young babies in
We
the,
do at our church.
who can you
Mary
ima
and Joseph at our church, Mary and Joseph is always a young couple who's just had a baby, and
Okay, okay.
baby Jesus is their baby.
Yeah, can you imagine us as teenagers trying to hold that's why we had the Cabbage Patch Doll.
Yeah, no. The mere fact I was allowed to leave a hospital at 18 years old with a child amazes me anyway. I can remember thinking to myself, like, they're like legit letting us leave with this baby. Like, we are dumb. We're leaving with this child. I gave birth to her. I did not steal a child from the hospital.
Let's
Let's make sure that's understood.
do you remember Dad, I don't know, maybe people knew Dad was a jokester, I guess when they got to know Dad, but normally the first impression you got from Dad, he was to me, your typical pastor, you had your whole idea of what a preacher acted like, that was your first impression, but do you remember him, like, doing little things like singing, "Peanut, peanut butter, jelly,"
Jelly. Yes.
or sitting up there? To this day, I cannot sing "Whosoever Meaneth Me" without thinking of Dad sitting up there behind the pulpit, looking at us singing, "Whosoever shoot a bean at me," and he'll do his finger at us, "Shoot a bean at me,
And he would look
shoot
at
a
us,
bean."
but we couldn't laugh because then we would create a scene in church.
Right?
No. Yes. What about the time Mama was playing the piano and at church in service, and a lizard stuck its head over the songbook?
Forgotten about that. My gosh, the book went one way
She
and she went the other.
she the only word I can think of is a good old Southern word. She shucked that piano. You know what I'm saying? She come from there like a bolt of lightning. It was the greatest thing I had ever seen.
Oh my
The
gosh.
greatest thing.
Lord
What
have mercy.
about what about dinner on the grounds? Do you remember the days of dinner on the grounds? And
Yeah, outside. Yeah.
everybody would cook a dish and bring stuff to this day. Now y'all know, and if you sit there and you say you ain't ever asked who made something, whether it be a work event or a church event and you wanted to know who made something, you a lie because everybody did. But I can remember going through the lines and you carefully sometimes picked what you got and what you didn't get. That to this day, if I go through any kind of buffet line like that, I always have to have someone with me that can tell me what the food is because I'm not a foodie. I don't know what everything is. And I'm like, what is that? What is in that? So I still have to have a tour guide to go through buffet lines. That's a trauma I can't let go because I'm like, I don't know what things are because you just never knew. You didn't know what people would bring.
Well, do you remember living in one place that we had a church couple that mom and dad were really good friends with, and we go over there, and so to this day, I have a problem. Anything that's in gravy, I ask questions because do you remember we get there and we start eating, and then they inform us that it was squirrel, and I about had to come apart because we had
Yes.
never eaten squirrel. I mean, like our food came from the grocery store. I mean, we did know, but it was squirrel. And then her husband picks up the head and sucks on the head, and that was it. That's it. I can't to this day, I can't eat. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
No.
like now it's like, what's in that gravy right there?
Yeah.
What's in there?
And how did you get it off the road or did you get it at Walmart? Because those are big questions I have now.
Because see,
What?
growing up, when you went and ate at somebody's house, it was you eat what's in front of you. We didn't get to say, I don't like that. And mom didn't bring chicken
Yeah.
nuggets with us. It was
Yeah.
whatever was served is what we ate. So you had to sit there and choke down squirrel. If you didn't want to eat squirrel, you choke down squirrel.
Look, people just don't understand. Are y'all catching on to what we were covering from? I mean, what about, do you remember we lived in this house and we had an elderly neighbor who had a dog and the dog would come poop on our carport all the
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I took it upon myself to go over and tell the neighbor, you need to make your dog, I was 5. You need to make your dog quit pooping on our carport. It's really bothering my mom. You need to make that dog quit. Well, a couple of weeks after that, me and you were in the front yard playing, and we had climbed a tree, and I can close my eyes. I had on orange corduroy pants, and they had yellow buses on them. And I'm telling you, I
You
looked
were
good I was styling in my little breeches, and we was up in the tree, and that dog ran out in the road, and somebody hit it.
And
And
now granted, there was like brakes squealing and yeah,
yeah,
you could hear, yeah.
the whole thing, and we jumped. Well, you jump out the tree. I tried to jump out the tree, and I've been a little chunky my whole life, and the back end of my breeches got hung on a branch, and I was hanging from the tree by my cute little corduroy breeches, and I'm doing my hands trying to run in the air, trying to get myself off, and I'm screaming because I'm stuck in the tree. You're screaming because that carport pooping dog just got ran over. The person in the road is screaming because they just hit a dog. Mom and daddy come running out of the house because they think I have got run over.
Because you weren't with me.
And Lisa's, you're screaming, and mom and daddy can't find me. And it was a whole hoo ha. I won't ever forget that.
See you right now hanging
From that tree. But my pants were cute, weren't they? My breeches was cute.
It's funny the little things you remember. I didn't remember the detail of it being a bus on your pants.
Oh,
Just that you
girl.
were hanging.
I remember them pants because I wore them pants as often as I could wear them because they were cute. What about the time Daddy brought home a cat in a brown paper bag?
My gosh. I mean, like, why? What was Dad thinking? Yeah,
This is what
the
what your pastors do. They bring home cats in brown paper
cats in
sacks.
paper bag. Like, did somebody in the church say, "Here, take this kitten to your children; they'll love him, but let me put it in a paper bag because it's feral." You forgot to disclose that information, and when he brought that cat home in the paper bag, brings it inside to show
The
us.
house.
We opened the paper bag. That cat came from there. I'm talking
like a
about.
rocket,
And it
like
went
a
behind the
rocket ship.
couch, and dad had to get it and wrap the Afghan around it, you remember? And then he
Yes,
threw it outside, and that cat lived under our house, and I used to go outside and sit down with a little bowl of cat food and a little bowl of water and sit there in front of the hole of the house and, "Here, kitty, 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 come here." Maybe that's
that
why
cat
John
wasn't
William
coming
at
out for
your
nothing.
at your house that would lay down on the floor to your cat and go, "Here, kitty, kitty, I won't hurt you." You remember that?
Yes,
Yeah, that to that day, that cat never I wonder if that cat's still living under the house.
probably.
Golly.
Do you remember we got watermelons one year and we had a watermelon spitting contest,
Mhm.
watermelon seed spitting contest. And we spit seeds in our backyard. And then, like, the next spring and summer,
We
watermelons
had
started growing
watermelons.
in the backyard of the parsonage.
And mama goes, "See, I told you that's why you don't swallow watermelon seeds because you'll have watermelon growing out your stomach."
Stop it. I remember her telling us that watermelons would grow in our belly. That's great.
Gosh, man, oh man, oh man. And I guess it just keeps going in the generations. I mean, our children, they're like I said, PK's 2.0, but they still do things. One of my favorite memories of my kid, yet again, John William. And we're sitting there in church, offering time, and the offering plate comes by, and we had this couple that we're friends with that was sitting beside us at church, and John William was sitting on the other side of me, and the plate goes by them, and I pass it and keep going, and it's just one of those things your mom knows. I knew something was coming. I knew something was coming. I just didn't know what it was, and he probably was 6, probably something like that. Leans across my lap, looks at them and goes, "What's your problem? Are you broke or something? Because they didn't put offer in the offer plate." I took my hand, wrapped it around his mouth, and yanked him back.
Stop it.
Oh gosh, "Are you broke or something?"
That's great.
Mortified.
That's great.
Golly, man.
The greatest misconception in the world is that the preacher and his family, like, sit around and just read the word
Mm,
all the
yeah,
time and have it all together and, never fight, never argue. It's angelic almost. I think that's the biggest misconception.
yeah, because I so the farthest from the truth. We fought all the time. We had pockets of moments we got along as kids, but most of the time
Yeah.
we fought. But do you remember dad quizzing us, talking about reading the Bible and all that kind of stuff? So, dad's idea of, story time before bed or Bible study reading was we we had a quiz, trivia when we went to bed. And, so therefore, that's why I guess I have a panic attack when somebody is asking a question in Bible study or something and they look at me to answer. I kinda go, "Ooh, what?" Because I don't know the answer. Because he asked me, "What was Noah's son's name?" And I went, Ham, Sham, and I could not think of Jaseph, isn't that right? And he goes, "Well,
Japheth.
it starts with a J." And I went, "Jam?" So it's Ham, Sham, and Jam.
I have to stop myself and not say Jam for Noah's son's name to this day. My gosh, that was one of the greatest ever.
Oh
Ham, Sham, and
gosh.
Jam.
Jam. So now you know if you ask me a question in Bible study and you see this panic look on my face, you know it's because I don't know the answer and I'm trying to think of equivalent to jam to the answer.
Okay, but what about all the times that daddy would be preaching and he would be talking about the Canaanites, the Moabites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the blah blah blights, and he would always end it with "and the mosquito bites."
I forgot that.
I think a lot of pastors do that, but when you get to all the ites of all the different tribes and the different stuff, he would always end it with
Mm,
"and the mosquito bite."
mosquito. I had forgotten about that. So I guess y'all can see, you understand that dad was a character.
He
Dad was a
was.
character. He was not your typical pastor, I think, of what you think a pastor is supposed to be, a preacher is supposed to be like, because he kind of had a character side of him.
And none of them are. They're human.
Yeah,
They're men.
that's right. Oh, yeah.
They're men.
That's
And
what
I
this was
guess,
supposed to be about, to show you that we're not the perfect.
and neither are you, and it's okay. It's okay to not be perfect, and it's okay to make mistakes and laugh. And I think that a huge misconception about followers of Christ is that we're stuffy. We're not stuffy. We're fun. And God made our personalities, and
That's right.
just laugh, have fun. I mean, maybe not act like you're drunk and put your leg around a table like our pastor of a father did, but
But
have
just enjoy
fun.
life and savor the memories. All right, y'all. That's a wrap for today's episode. If something in this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or just made you feel seen, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them. Send it to a friend, drop it in a group chat, or post it on your story. That kind of support means the world to us. You always find every episode, updates, and more over at therecoveringpreacherskids.com. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you next time.